Hey everyone, Sparks back with another Goddess Victory Nikke video, and we have our new maid duo slash sailor slash pirate kind of Valentine's Day, but it's before Valentine's Day duo of new units, and everybody wants to check out Mast in more ways than one. So we're going to be talking about Mast first. I will be doing a video right after this for Anchor, so make sure you check that out right after this. This is one of the most interesting duos we've gotten, and spoiler alert, they are a duo very similar to like how the schoolgirls and the bunnies and other units have functioned like that. The really unique thing here is that they're both burst 2. They're also both a burst cooldown 40. So kind of, like I said, really unique. That means they're going to have to be really good to overcome that kind of inherent disadvantage of both being 40 seconds and not being a burst 3, because generally we want to fit on as many burst 3s as we can to up our DPS. So let's go ahead and see if they're worth it, and we'll talk about Mast somewhat in isolation and also if she would be worth it with a partner as well, and I'll get more into sort of the details of whether or not it's worth it as a partner when I talk about Anchor, because of course at that point we'll have seen both units. So Mast is a burst 2 support with machine gun code water, and her skill 1 is called a Pirate's Heart. I love how she's always doing heart hand movements, and somebody pointed this out. She actually is completing the heart on her apron down at the bottom with her fingers, so cute little detail there. Anyways, it activates when entering burst stage 1, affects self, drunken, hit rate goes down 20%, and stacks up to 3 times continuously. So generally what you want with machine guns is really high hit rate. Machine guns specialize in hitting cores once it's ramped up to full speed, but in this case, she's probably going to function a lot more like a submachine gun because she's just going to be spraying and praying. Hit rate down at a maximum of 60% is pretty bad, but what else does it do? Presumably there's an upside to this, right? So activates only when in drunken status, so when she's at hit rate down with at least 1 stack of that, affects all allies, crit rate goes up 20% continuously, and attack goes up 35% of caster's attack continuously. Okay, so she's a very much a team player, so at sacrificing her own damage by decreasing her hit rate, she's going to benefit the entire squad with a crit rate and attack buff. Now this is a relatively modest buff. Crit rate isn't all that helpful unless you're really crit fishing, but there's better ways to crit fish? It kind of sounds weird, than doing this with Mast, but you know, that is a thing. The attack buff of 35% is nice, but she is a support, which means her base stats are going to be a little bit lower, and this isn't final attack. There's definitely a lot bigger attack buffs as well. So let's go ahead and see what her skill 2 does. I think skill 1 is kind of mid, but I do like how she's basically, you know, like debuffing herself to benefit the entire team, so you're getting a net gain there. Anyway, skill 2 is a Pirate Spirit. Activates when entering burst stage 3 in drunken status, so making sure that she actually has the debuff from skill 1, which will always happen after you've entered burst stage 1, so that won't be a problem. So when you enter burst stage 3 in drunken status, affects all allies, distributed damage goes up 15%. Now that's kind of interesting. So up 15% times the number of drunken stacks. So this could go up, you know, 15 times 1, 2, or 3, depending on, again, how many stacks she has of drunken status. Distributed damage is a little bit of a unique thing. We've seen distributed damage from, I'm trying to think, we have Dorothy, we have 2B, I believe. We also have Cinderella, correct me if I'm wrong. There's probably other units that I'm forgetting here, but we can increase our distributed damage. And just remember, distributed damage is going to change based on the number of units that are on the screen, or number of enemies that are on the screen. It's also going to increase reload speed by 15% times the number of drunken stacks as well. So that's going to be a really nice reload speed buff. That's pretty cool. Reload speed is always valuable, and you know, that's kind of universally valuable, but we've particularly seen the value of that with, you know, the quick reload team with units like Summer Niece and things like that, which has become less relevant in recent time. So also says activates when the caster reaches max stacks of drunken at the end of full burst. Affects self after the stacks are removed. She gets a hangover. I love this. Stunned for 10 seconds. So she's basically totally out of commission for 10 seconds. Being stunned for 10 seconds is not great. Basically, she's not going to be able to take any actions in that time, which means she's not going to be building up the stacks of other things to be able to buff your other units as well. So I don't know, that's a pretty huge downside. But let's see what her burst does. It's called A Pirate's Romance. Affects all allies. Crit damage goes up 40% for 10 seconds. That is pretty nice. And then attack damage goes up 15% for 10 seconds, which is even better. Attack damage, I say this all the time, is basically the best type of buff that you can get because it's going to actually multiply that final score by whatever that percentage is. Also affects all allies if in drunken status. Attack goes up 20%. Times the number of drunken stacks of caster's attack for 10 seconds. So we're getting another big attack buff here that is even better than the one from her skill 1. So Burst looks pretty strong. Burst is quite good, but it does have that 40-second cooldown. Really unique unit here. Probably not worth using in isolation. We'll talk about if she's worth using with Anchor a little bit more in the Anchor video. I want to say she definitely gets better with Anchor, but even then, I feel like these units are a little gimmicky, which, frankly, if we can get a break on must-pull units, although Mana wasn't even a must-pull unit, but she turned out to be a lot more valuable than initially expected, this might be good. So, if you're a big Mast fan, if you're, a fan of her clothing, her top here, I totally get it. We all like Mast. I know Mast has a lot of fans out there, even from her original form, and a lot of people bought that summer skin. So Mast is here for you. Also, Anchor getting a huge upgrade from her SR form, so she'll be more usable as well. Again, we'll get into that more in the next video. But is she usable? I don't know. She's really unique. Let me know what you have cooked up. Distributed damage buff is interesting. Her kind of like taking her own damage out of commission with the hit rate debuff isn't such a big deal because you're probably not going to be dealing that much damage with her anyway. But the stun for 10 seconds is kind of bad, and the 40-second cooldown is also pretty bad. But otherwise, the actual buff she provides is pretty good. I'm going to say this is kind of a win for players because if you want to use her, she's cool and fun and she looks good, but also I think she's definitely a safe unit that you could probably pass. But let me know your thoughts. I'm always interested in your opinions and what other things you're planning on doing. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss any videos or streams in the future, and keep an eye out for that Mast video coming right after this. Sorry, I just said Mast video. Keep an eye out for the Anchor video coming next. All right, catch you guys in the next video.